The market of Viralia was crowded and loud, full of aliens from different planets, some with scales, some with feathers, and some glowing faintly. Vendors shouted, selling strange fruits and metals, while small hover carts floated above the crowded streets. Among the noise and chaos, a human walked slowly, his eyes scanning the crowd carefully. He was not like the others, wearing simple clothes and carrying only a small bag of tools, but there was something gentle in his steps. He noticed her almost at the same moment as he heard a soft cry. A small alien child, no taller than his knee, struggled to move through the crowded market. Her leg was bent strangely, almost broken, and each step caused her to stumble painfully. She tried to hold herself upright, but the uneven stones of the street made it harder, and she fell again, scraping her small hands on the rough ground. People walked past her, some staring without emotion, some whispering cruelly. A few children pointed at her, laughing, and some adults shook their heads, saying she was useless and weak. The human felt a tight knot in his chest. He could not ignore her. He moved closer, crouching beside her. "Hey, little one. Are you okay?" he asked softly, his voice calm but firm. The child flinched and turned her head, fear in her glowing eyes. She had never seen a human here, and humans were rare in this city of Viralia. "Don't touch me," she whispered, her voice trembling, almost breaking. He nodded slowly, giving her space. "I won't. I just want to help you," he said gently. He noticed how thin she was, her small body covered in tattered clothes, and her hands and knees were raw from falling too many times. Some vendors muttered to each other, warning him, "Humans do not meddle here. You will get in trouble." But the human did not care, his eyes only on the child. He looked at the bent leg and saw that the child could not walk properly alone, and that no one else would help her. A feeling of determination rose inside him. He would find a way to make her walk. The child tried to crawl to the side, hiding behind a cart, but she was too weak. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and hope, unsure if he was friend or enemy. He smiled softly, kneeling on one knee, and reached out slowly. "I can make you walk again," he said. The words were simple, but they carried promise and kindness. And the child hesitated just a little nearby. A group of guards walked past, their glowing weapons hanging from their belts. They glanced at the human, noticing him crouched beside the alien child. The human noticed them but did not panic. He simply whispered, "We must be quick, little one." He helped her to stand, supporting her under her arms, and she held on tightly, trembling. Her legs could barely support her, and she stumbled immediately, almost falling into the dirt. The human steadied her, breathing calmly. "I will make something for you, something to help," he said. He looked around and saw broken metal scraps on the street, discarded parts from vendors and small machines. His mind raced as he imagined how he could build a crutch or support that would let her walk. The child watched silently, unsure if she could trust him, but curiosity shone in her eyes. She could feel the warmth in his voice, and something inside her whispered that maybe, just maybe, he would not hurt her. The human gently lowered her to sit on a small crate. "Rest here for a moment," he said. He began picking up pieces of metal and discarded straps, examining each one carefully. Some looked strong, others weak, but he smiled. Knowing he could make them useful, the child watched him work, her small fingers tracing the edge of the crate. For the first time in days, she felt a tiny spark of hope, a feeling she had almost forgotten. A vendor shouted nearby, "Watch out for the human. He should not touch our children." The human ignored them, his focus entirely on the child and the pieces of metal. He whispered softly, "I will build something that will let you walk without pain. Tomorrow you will take your first steps, and no one will laugh at you again." The child looked at him, her eyes wide, and a small tear slid down her cheek. She wanted to speak, to ask if it was true, but the fear of the world around her made her silent. As the sun began to set over the crowded streets of Viralia, the human packed the pieces carefully. He lifted the child gently and carried her through the market, avoiding the guards and suspicious vendors. Every step he took was careful, mindful of her bent leg and fragile body. He whispered encouragement to her. "Just a little further. We are almost safe." The child clung to him, her small hands gripping his shoulders, feeling the safety she had not known before. By the time they reached the quiet alley near the edge of the market, the sky had turned orange. The human set her down gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Tomorrow, you will walk again," he promised. She nodded slowly, exhausted but comforted, staring at him with a mix of fear and hope. He smiled and whispered one last word, "Rest," before turning to gather more pieces for the crutch. In that quiet alley, surrounded by the noisy city, the first spark of change had begun. The broken child had found a human who cared, and nothing would ever be the same again. The night fell over the city of Virelia, the sky painted in shades of dark blue and purple. Street lamps flickered, casting long shadows across the narrow alleys. The human carried the small alien child carefully to a quiet corner, behind a stack of abandoned crates. Here the noise of the market faded, replaced by the soft hum of distant hover engines. The child sat on the crates, her small hands covering her eyes, shivering slightly from fear and cold. The human knelt before her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "I will make something to help you walk," he said gently. She peeked at him through her fingers, curiosity battling with fear. "I don't know if it will work," she whispered softly. "No one has ever helped me before," the human smiled. A small, confident smile. "We will try together. You will see. You will walk again, maybe even run someday," he said, his eyes shining with determination. He began to search through the crates and nearby alley, picking up broken metal rods, torn straps, and small alien devices that no one had wanted. Some were bent and rusted. Others had strange glowing symbols etched into them. He examined each piece, turning them over in his hands, imagining how he could make them strong enough to hold the child's weight. The child watched silently, leaning on her good leg, her eyes following every move of the human. She noticed how calm he was, how he treated the scraps like precious tools rather than garbage. Slowly, a feeling of trust grew inside her. Tiny but steady. Can I help?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The human nodded. "Yes, you can. Hand me that strap there." "The long one with the symbol," he said, pointing carefully. Together, they began assembling the first parts of the crutch. The human bent the metal rods into a shape that could support her, while the child held pieces steady, her small hands shaking with effort. The work was slow, and sometimes the rods bent too easily, or the straps tore, but each time the human laughed softly. "It's okay, we will try again. Nothing works the first time. But we will get there." The child began to smile, a small smile that felt like sunlight after a long, dark night. As they worked, distant sounds of guards patrolling reached the alley. The human paused, listening carefully, then motioned for the child to stay quiet. They held their breath as footsteps echoed closer, the shadows of guards passing under the alley lights. The human whispered, "We are safe for now. Just keep helping me." The child nodded, heart pounding, but she did not move, trusting the human completely. Hours passed, and the crutch slowly took shape. The rods were strong now, the straps secure, and small alien tech added for stability. The human tested it by pressing it against the wall, adjusting it carefully to fit the child's height and balance. The child watched, eyes wide with wonder. "Will it really help me walk?" she asked nervously. "More than anything," he replied, a hint of a smile on his face. "You will take your first steps tomorrow, and I will be right there with you." He checked every part again, tightening straps, bending metal where needed, making sure it would not break. The crutch gleamed under the dim alley lights, a strange but beautiful mix of human ingenuity and alien scraps. The child touched it gently, feeling the smooth metal under her small hands. I think I can try it," she whispered, almost afraid to believe it. The human nodded. "Good. That is all I want, try. And if it doesn't work, we will adjust it. We will not give up." Suddenly, a shadow moved near the alley entrance, making both freeze. A vendor from the market peered in, frowning. That human. "What is he doing with that child?" The human held the crutch tightly, stepping slightly in front of the child, his eyes calm but alert. "I am helping her," he said simply. "Is there a problem?" The vendor shook his head, muttering to himself. "The Emperor will hear about this. Humans should not touch alien children," before walking away. The child shivered slightly, but the human knelt beside her, whispering, "Do not worry, no one will stop us. We are careful, and we are strong." Hours turned into late night, and the human finally set the crutch beside the child. Leaning against the crate, he pulled out a small cloth, wrapping it around her injured leg, making her comfortable for rest. The child sat quietly, holding the crutch with her small hands, imagining what it would be like to walk again. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, reflecting the hope she had almost lost. The human smiled, watching her, knowing that tomorrow would be the real test. Before leaving, he whispered, "Sleep now, little one. Tomorrow we begin your first steps and no one will laugh at you again." The child nodded, clutching the crutch close, feeling a warmth she had never felt before. As he left the alley, the human glanced back once more, a sense of purpose and determination burning in his eyes. He knew the Emperor would hear about this, and trouble was coming. But for now, the broken child had a chance to walk, and that was worth any danger. In the quiet night of Virelia, the first rays of hope had been built from broken scraps. A human had crafted not just a crutch, but a possibility. The child slept holding it, unaware that her small steps tomorrow could change not only her life, but also the way the world saw humans. And somewhere in the palace, shadows whispered of the human who dared to help. The story was just beginning, and the city did not yet know the storm that would come with kindness. The morning sun rose slowly over the city of Virelia, painting the streets in soft orange light. The market was quiet now, only a few early vendors arranging their goods and a faint hum of hover carts in the distance. The small alley where the human and the alien child had worked all night was still, shadows stretching long on the walls. The child woke slowly, holding the crutch close to her small body, her glowing eyes blinking at the first light. The human knelt beside her, smiling gently. "Good morning, little one. Today is the day you try to walk," he said softly. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Will it really work?" she whispered. He nodded firmly. "We made it together, and we will do it together. You are stronger than you think, and I will not let anything happen to you." She took a deep breath, gripping the crutch tightly, her small hands shaking slightly. The human helped her stand, supporting her under the shoulders. Her bent leg protested, trembling under her weight, but the crutch held firmly. She took one small step forward, her heart pounding. The human whispered encouragement. "Good. That's it. One step at a time. You are doing it. Just a little more." The child tried another step, this time more confident. The crutch gave her balance, and the pain in her legs seemed less. Her face lit up with a small, amazed smile. I can do it," she cried softly. The human nodded, smiling proudly. "Yes, you can. Keep going, little one. Don't stop now." The first few steps were slow and unsteady, each one a struggle. Her legs shook, her small body trembled, and the crutch creaked slightly. But she did not fall, and that was all that mattered. A small crowd began to gather quietly at the edge of the alley, curious aliens watching the human and the child. Whispers spread, "The human is helping the broken child. No one has dared to do this before." The child's steps became steadier with each try, her confidence growing. She took a few steps without the human supporting her fully. Her eyes sparkled with joy and determination. The crutch had become more than a tool. It was a symbol of hope. The human clapped softly, encouraging her. "See, you can walk. The world will not laugh at you again. You are strong." Suddenly, a loud shout came from the end of the alley. A group of guards approached quickly, their glowing weapons in hand. The human stepped in front of the child, shielding her. "Move back," he said firmly, his eyes calm but sharp. The child froze, unsure what would happen next, her small hands gripping the crutch tightly. The head guard stepped forward, his expression serious. "You dare to touch a citizen of Virelia? The Emperor will hear of this human. You cannot interfere with our children." The human smiled slightly. "I am not interfering. I am helping, and the child is safe. That is all that matters," he said calmly. The guard frowned, confused by the human's confidence and calmness. The child, encouraged by the human's presence, took a bold step forward. She moved past the human slightly, holding the crutch carefully. Her bent leg seemed to straighten a little with every step. The guard's eyes widened in surprise. "Impossible. She walks," he muttered. The other guards whispered to each other, unsure what they were seeing. The child laughed softly, a sound like wind through the trees. She took step after step, growing more confident. The crutch creaked but held strong, supporting her weight perfectly. The human walked beside her, smiling proudly. "You see? I told you, you are stronger than anyone believes," he said. Her small hands clutched the crutch tightly, but her smile was brighter than the morning sun. The crowd that had gathered began to cheer quietly, amazed by what they saw. Some vendors peeked from their stalls, astonished that a human could help an alien child walk. The child's face glowed, her small body trembling with joy. She looked up at the human. "Thank you. I never thought I could walk again," she whispered softly, tears in her glowing eyes. The human nodded. "You did it, little one. You walked, and no one can take that from you." The guards, still confused, retreated slowly, their leader shaking his head. The human knew it was only a matter of time before the Emperor would hear. But in this moment nothing else mattered. The child had taken her first steps, and with them, a new beginning had begun. She took another step, more confident than before, the crutch supporting her bent leg, the human walking proudly beside her. Somewhere in the distance a horn sounded from the Emperor's palace, a warning or perhaps a curiosity. The human did not know. He looked at the child, her glowing eyes filled with life. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. The child smiled, holding the crutch tightly, knowing she had found someone who would always stand by her. Her first steps were more than just walking. They were the start of a change that would ripple across Virelia. The human watched as she walked steadily down the alley. Her laughter filled the air, and even the guards could not hide their astonishment. The city had not seen kindness like this before, not in many years. The child had walked, and the human had built more than a crutch. He had built hope. And soon, the Emperor would hear of it, and that news would change everything. News traveled fast in Virelia, faster than hover carts, faster than the hum of energy lines. The story of the human who had helped a broken alien child walk reached the palace before noon. In the Emperor's chamber, high above the city, the golden walls reflected the harsh light of twin suns. Admiral servants whispered nervously as the Emperor paced, his long robes swaying with each step. "This is outrageous." The Emperor's voice boomed, echoing through the tall hall. "Humans are not allowed to touch alien citizens. They cannot interfere with our laws, and yet this one dares to help a crippled child?" He slammed his hand on the polished floor, sending a small tremor through the room. His advisors looked at each other, unsure how to respond. One brave council member stepped forward. "Your Majesty, the child is safe. The human's actions are unusual, but there is no harm done yet." The Emperor turned sharply, his eyes like molten fire. "Safe? Safe? A child walking is not the issue. The issue is who enabled it, a human." He waved his hand, signaling the guards. "Find him. Bring him to me immediately. I want this human arrested before he corrupts any more citizens." Meanwhile, in the alley where the child had walked for the first time, the human was preparing to leave. The child hugged the crutch tightly, her small face glowing with joy. "Will it be safe now?" she asked quietly, worry clouding her eyes. The human shook his head gently. "No, little one. The Emperor will hear about us soon. We must be careful, but right now enjoy your steps. You have done something no one thought possible." She smiled, leaning on the crutch, feeling stronger than ever. Back at the palace, guards assembled with speed, their armor glinting in the sun. The Emperor's orders were clear, and hesitation was not allowed. The human's reputation was unknown to them, but his actions had stirred curiosity, fear, and anger. The chief commander barked instructions. "Surround the alleys, do not let him escape. Bring him alive, the Emperor wants to see him." The guards hurried, their weapons ready. They did not know the human, but they knew the Emperor's anger, and no one dared disobey him. The human sensed the approaching danger as he stepped out of the alley. The city was waking now, streets filling with citizens and vendors. Hover carts glided past, and the child followed him closely, holding the crutch. He paused at a corner, scanning the area, noticing shadows moving quickly towards them. "Guards," he whispered. "They have found us." The child's eyes widened, fear returning. "Do not be afraid," he said, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "We will face this together." The guards reached the alley, weapons glowing and voices shouting commands. The human stepped forward calmly, standing between the child and the guards. "I mean no harm," he said, his voice strong and steady. But the chief commander shook his head. "The Emperor demands your arrest. You will come with us immediately." The human smiled slightly. "Then I suppose I must go. But know this. No law can take away what we have done." The child clung to the crutch, fear mixing with pride. "Will he hurt you?" she asked softly. The human knelt, meeting her eyes. "No, little one. We did nothing wrong. We only gave you a chance to walk." He stood, letting the guards approach, calm and unafraid. They cuffed his wrists with energy restraints, careful not to harm him, and began to lead him through the streets toward the palace. The citizens watched in silence, whispers spreading through the crowd. Some admired the human's courage. Others feared the Emperor's wrath. The child followed quietly, her small steps steady on the crutch. She knew this moment was bigger than her, bigger than anyone had imagined. The human had changed her life, and now the world would see his bravery. Inside the palace, the Emperor awaited, sitting high on his throne. Guards marched the human forward carefully, their steps echoing through the grand hall. The human's posture was straight, eyes unwavering. He did not bow, he did not plead. He only stood calmly before the Emperor. The child stood behind, clutching the crutch, watching silently. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "You dare help a crippled alien child? Do you think you can change the rules of Virelia with your kindness?" The human smiled gently. "I only helped her walk. I did not change rules, I only gave hope where there was none." A silence filled the hall, tension heavy and thick. The Emperor's advisors shifted nervously. Unsure how to react, the Emperor leaned forward, his voice cold and commanding. "Hope is dangerous, human. It can make citizens question authority. It can make them believe in change. You have stirred something unexpected. You will be punished for this audacity." The human met his gaze calmly. "Then punish me. But know that no punishment can undo what has been done. She can walk, and she will walk freely even if the Emperor does not approve." The child's eyes shone brightly, pride and awe filling her small body. The Emperor's jaw tightened, anger simmering beneath the surface. And far above, the city held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The story of the human and the alien child was only beginning, and the Emperor's decree would set the stage for challenges, courage, and a change no one expected. The palace corridors were cold and silent, the walls lined with glowing panels that hummed softly. The human walked calmly, his hands restrained by energy cuffs, the child trailing closely behind. Her small legs ached, but the crutch kept her steady. The guards flanking them whispered to each other. Confused by the human's calm demeanor, the human scanned the hallways carefully, noting every door, every guard, every shadow. He had a plan, a small chance, but it was enough. "Stay close to me," he whispered to the child. She nodded, her glowing eyes wide with fear and determination. "I will not let them take you," he said softly. Her hands gripped the crutch tighter, drawing courage from his words. They reached a large chamber where the Emperor's advisors were gathered. The guard stepped forward, preparing to present the human and child before the Emperor. But the human's mind worked quickly, analyzing every exit, every route. He noticed a service door, slightly ajar near the back of the chamber. It led to maintenance corridors rarely used. "An old path that could lead them out?" the child whispered. "Can we run?" The human smiled slightly. "Yes, but we must be careful. One wrong step, and they will catch us." He looked at the nearest guard, who was distracted by a glowing panel. With a swift, precise movement, he tapped the energy cuffs. The cuffs sparked and released. Leaving his hands free, the guards gasped in shock. Unsure what to do, he motioned to the child. "Now, little one, follow me." She hesitated for a moment, then ran, using the crutch to balance herself. The human led the way through the service door, slipping into narrow corridors dimly lit by soft blue light. The guards shouted behind them, but the corridors twisted and turned, confusing their pursuers. The child's steps were small but steady, each one a testament to the crutch and the human's help. They turned a corner and the human paused. Listening carefully, he could hear the distant shouts, the echoes of the guards searching for them. He smiled softly. "We are almost out," he whispered. The child looked up at him, hope and fear mixing in her eyes. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I know," he said gently. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward even when you are afraid. They reached a ventilation shaft, narrow and dusty, but a way out. The human lifted the child, helping her climb inside. The crutch had to be carried carefully, but he managed to secure it against his back. He climbed in after her, and they moved silently through the vents. The city noises below were distant now, muffled by metal walls. Every turn brought them closer to freedom. Below them, citizens paused in the streets, sensing something unusual. Some whispered about the human and the alien child, the story of courage and kindness spreading quietly. Above, the Emperor's palace rumbled with anger. Guards searched every hallway, but the human had already disappeared. The child looked at the human, her voice soft. "Will we make it?" He nodded. "Yes, little one, we will, but we must be clever. We must be brave." They crawled through the vents, twisting and turning, the air thick with dust. The child's small hands held the metal edges tightly. Her glowing eyes alert, every sound below made her heart race. But she trusted the human completely. Finally, the vent ended above the outer walls of the palace. They could see the city beyond, streets bathed in morning light. The human checked carefully, ensuring no guards were nearby. He lifted the child onto a ledge, helping her climb down safely. The crutch followed. Strapped to his back, still secure, the child landed softly. Her small legs trembling but free, the human followed, landing beside her with a soft thud. They were outside the palace walls, the city sprawling around them. The guards were still searching. Unaware of their exact location, the child laughed softly, a sound of relief and triumph. "We did it," she whispered. The human smiled. "Yes, we did, but remember, this is only the beginning." They ran through narrow alleys, avoiding patrols. The city was alive now. Merchants opening stalls, citizens walking through streets, no one could stop them. For the human's courage and the child's determination created a shield stronger than any weapon. The vents, the shadows, the narrow paths, they used them all, and with each step, they moved further from the Emperor's reach. At last they reached a small abandoned building. Hidden from the main roads, the human checked carefully, then helped the child inside. They were safe for now. The walls thick and sturdy, a temporary sanctuary. The child sank to the floor, exhausted but smiling, her glowing eyes reflecting hope. The human sat beside her, looking at the city from a small window. He knew the Emperor would not give up easily. But in this moment they were free, and that freedom was everything. The human whispered, "We will rest here. Little one, tomorrow we will plan our next steps. The Emperor may demand our capture, but we have courage, and courage can change even the impossible." The child nodded. Feeling safe for the first time, she clutched the crutch, her small body tired but unbroken, and outside the city moved on, unaware of the quiet rebellion of one human and one alien child. The Emperor was furious, pacing in his golden chamber, his robes trailing behind him like flowing fire. The human and the alien child had escaped the palace, slipping through corridors and vents as if they were ghosts. Advisors whispered nervously, unable to suggest a solution that could contain the Emperor's anger. The Emperor stopped abruptly, pointing a long finger at the chief commander. His eyes burning. "You failed," he shouted, the voice echoing through the marble halls. "Do you think one human can defy me and walk away?" The commander bowed low. "Your Majesty, the city is vast. The alleys and vents allowed them to escape. We will find them. I promise." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Promises are meaningless. I want results, and I want them now. Set the hunt in motion, every district, every street. No one is to help them, no one." Guards moved with precision, a force like the city had never seen. Hover scouts took to the skies, scanning rooftops and streets. Every citizen became a possible witness, every shadow a possible hiding place. The human and child were no longer just fugitives, they were symbols. Symbols of hope, defiance, and change in the abandoned building. The human crouched beside the child. Her small hands clutched the crutch, her glowing eyes wide with worry. "They will come," she whispered. "They will take us back." The human nodded. "Yes, they will. But we are not powerless, we have each other, and we have courage. He began drawing maps on the dusty floor, marking patrol routes, streets, vents, and hidden alleys. The child watched, fascinated and learning. "This is like a game," she said softly, "a game to stay free." The human smiled. "Yes, little one, a very dangerous game, but one we must play carefully." Meanwhile, across the city, the Emperor's scouts were everywhere. They searched markets, alleys, and rooftops, questioning citizens. Some whispered about the human's kindness to the child. Some feared the Emperor's wrath, too afraid to speak. The commander coordinated the hunt, issuing orders. "Check every building, every vent. No corner of the city is too small. Bring them to the Emperor alive. Do not underestimate their cleverness." The human observed the city from a high vantage point. He had studied the patterns, the timings, the habits of the guards. He whispered to the child, "See those streets? They patrol there every hour, but at noon they switch. That is when we move." She nodded, gripping the crutch, trusting him completely. Every decision, every step was about survival, and every moment of fear was balanced by hope. The city below seemed unaware of the small rebellion. Citizens went about their lives unaware that a human had defied the Emperor. The child took her first careful steps without the human holding her. Her small body steady on the crutch, her confidence growing. "You're doing it," the human whispered. "See how strong you are?" The child smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting pride. Even in the face of danger, she had begun to believe in herself. At night, the Emperor convened a council, his anger simmering. "Find them. No matter what," he commanded. "They cannot escape me. They will learn that the laws of Varelia are absolute." Advisors nodded. But some feared the child's growing strength. The human's actions had inspired whispers of change, quiet hope that could spread, and hope, the Emperor knew, could not be controlled by force alone. Back in the abandoned building, the human packed supplies. He had prepared food, water, and small tools, everything to keep them mobile. He whispered to the child, "Tonight we rest, tomorrow we continue, but we must be clever. The Emperor will send more guards, more scouts. We must be ready for anything." The child rested, listening to his words, feeling safe in this small corner of the city. They had a moment of peace. As dawn approached, the human checked the maps once more. Every route, every vent, every shadow had been considered. The Emperor's hunt was relentless, but they were determined. They were not just fleeing. They were preparing for the challenges ahead. For every guard sent, they had a counter. Every obstacle had a solution. Courage, cunning, and trust were their weapons. Outside, the city awakened, unaware of the quiet struggle above and below. Hover scouts scanned rooftops. Citizens moved through streets. The human held the child's hand, feeling the weight of responsibility. But he also felt hope stronger than fear. For the first time, the child was walking confidently, the crutch a symbol of resilience, and the human knew no matter what the Emperor did, their courage would not be crushed easily. The hunt had begun. The Emperor's forces searched relentlessly, but the human and child were ready, their bond unbreakable, their minds sharp. And in the heart of the city, a small defiance had taken root, a defiance that would challenge the Emperor's rule and inspire hope where there was none before. The city was quiet at dawn, the first light reflecting off silver rooftops. The human and the alien child crouched behind a pile of crates. Their breaths were shallow, their hearts beating fast. The Emperor's patrols had intensified, their hovercraft scanning the streets below. The child gripped her crutch tightly, her small hands trembling. "Are they coming?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The human nodded. "Yes, little one, but we are ready, we have each other, and we have courage." They moved carefully through narrow alleys, following the escape plan they had drawn the night before. The child's legs were strong now, every step on the crutch a symbol of her determination. The human scanned every corner, listening for the faint hum of guards, the whispers of the Emperor's scouts. They reached the edge of the city, where a small bridge crossed the river. Beyond it lay the open lands, a place where the Emperor's reach was weaker. But the bridge was guarded, a checkpoint with heavily armed soldiers. They could not fight them openly, the human knew that. They had to use cunning, not strength. He crouched behind a crate, whispering, "We wait for the right moment when the guards shift. We move silently, one step at a time, and then freedom is ours." The child nodded, eyes wide but trusting. She had learned much on this journey. Trust, courage, and cleverness could overcome fear. She adjusted the crutch, preparing for the sprint. The human's hand rested briefly on her shoulder, giving strength. Above, the Emperor watched from his palace window, his fury like a storm. "How dare they escape?" he shouted, turning to his advisors. "They think they can defy me? Send more troops, more scouts. Do not let them reach the lands beyond the river." The guards below doubled their efforts, scanning every corner, every shadow. But the human had anticipated this, had prepared for every possibility. The right moment came, the guards shifting to change posts. The human led the child forward, silent as shadows. Their movements precise, calculated, every step avoiding detection. The crutch tapped lightly on the stone, a rhythm only he and the child knew. They moved like ghosts. Slipping past the guards one by one, the patrols were close, their shouts echoing in the distance. But the human's plan was flawless, and the child's determination unmatched. They reached the middle of the bridge, where the river flowed swiftly below. The guards noticed them too late, shouting alarms, drawing weapons. The human froze for a moment, then acted. He pulled a small device from his pocket, activating a blinding light and loud sound. The guards covered their eyes, confused and disoriented. The human whispered, "Now, little one." The child sprinted across the bridge, her crutch steady, her heart pounding. The human followed, keeping close, moving with speed and precision. Halfway across, a soldier aimed a blaster. The human dove pushing the child to the side. The shot missed, hitting the water below, steam rising as it sizzled. The child looked at him with wide eyes. "You saved me." "I will always save you," he said, his voice calm despite the danger. They reached the other side, running into the open lands. Free from the city's maze, the patrols were behind. The human knew they could not follow in time. They paused at the edge of a cliff overlooking the river. The city behind them, the child sank to her knees, exhausted but smiling. "We did it," she whispered. "We are free." The human knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, little one, we are free and we will stay free." The sun rose higher, bathing them in golden light. It was a new day, a new beginning. But freedom came with a price. The Emperor's forces would not forget. The human knew this, and so did the child, yet in that moment, the fear and danger seemed distant. Their bond stronger than any empire. Stronger than any fear. The child looked at him, eyes glowing with trust and gratitude. "You are my hero," she said softly. The human smiled. "No, little one. You are the hero. You never gave up. You kept going. I just helped you see your strength." Far in the city, the Emperor watched from his tower, anger boiling. But the human and the child had already disappeared into the lands beyond. Whispers began to spread among the citizens. Stories of courage, of kindness, of defiance against the Emperor. The human had shown that even one person, with heart and cleverness, could protect and inspire. The child's small legs, the crutch, and the human's courage became a symbol that would not be forgotten. The human and the child walked into the open fields. The wind on their faces for the first time, they could move without fear. The crutch had carried her this far. Her courage had carried her further, and the human had kept his promise. To protect, to guide, and to never give up. They disappeared into the horizon free, and the city behind them began to remember that hope, courage, and compassion could challenge even the strongest empire, and sometimes one act of kindness could change everything.